Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Monday, and a little bit late of a recap today. I had to leave right after the close today, so I just wanted to do it now, which it's about almost 7 o'clock at night. But there was a lot of things to look at today. There was a little bit of fear or panic, I would say, this morning because. We talked about a couple of the moving averages to watch in the weekend video. So it's another reason why I wanted to kind of make sure I touched upon what we looked at in the weekend video, where we talked about a couple levels to watch. One of which was in the on the spies, the 50-day moving average. That was that's the main level or moving average to watch. And we started the day down about 1% or close to it and went a little bit lower. But we said, hey, we'll see how things kind of shake out. We put on a couple day trades in the room today that worked really well. I went long Qs twice, one of which was very successful. The second one, not so much, because we just didn't break the range that we hit right around 2 o'clock. We came back to it, but we weren't able to really break above it. So, that's where we are. The purple line is the 50-day moving average. As long as we're above that 50-day moving average, we're in good shape, or we're okay, I should say. We don't have a lot of room if we do break it between the next area of support. Also looking at the value areas. Also, you've got this uptrend line. Again, this is just S&P futures, so it's going to look the same for SPY. So we did have this sell signal here. Last week we failed to kind of get going and rally, but this was today's hammer. You can see the new developing bar already for tomorrow's futures. But it doesn't get much better than where we were from this morning, down 1%, breaking a trend line, going below the 50-day moving average, and reclaiming all of it at the end of the day. So we're not out of the woods at all by any means. I would like to see the price action get back above. And, for me, in a perfect world, right? If we're looking for things that we want here, I would want the price action to get back above these moving averages and get back above and get out of the middle of the value area. But baby steps here, and that was a great thing. Also, you look at small caps today. Small caps actually led today. They were up 19 basis points. They actually finished up a little bit higher than Qs, which Qs had really, to me, had the strength in them today. But like I said, they failed. They rebounded really nicely, but they failed to really ratchet up much higher. So if we look at IWM on here, I'll kind of see what I mean with the 100-day moving average. Again, a break of the 100-day moving average, but closing bar is the closing print is the most important thing, and we're above there. So again, really nothing much to say differently than what we talked about in terms of levels to watch. We still got to watch the 50-day in the SPYs and the 100-day in the small caps. What's been showing the strength in this market. I didn't listen to the end of day Fast Money show on CNBC, but I'm sure they're going to be talking about the same things that they've been talking about, and the Trump rally and what Mr. Trump is doing and so forth. Was looking at where international markets were last night. Obviously the Nikkei was down 1.4%, but I didn't see that many areas or emerging markets that really took a big tumble last night. The Hang Seng was down 70 basis points, still up about 10% for the year. So, and then you looked at what EME was doing this morning, and it really wasn't down that much. The DAX was down almost 1%. That was the worst that it was, and it closed down 60 basis points. But look at Euro stocks, and they were only down 20 basis points. So I think the majority of people who are doing market analysis that you hear on CNBC, they are missing the boat. They keep talking about the same things. They keep talking about. It's almost like they're not getting it. The fact they just keep talking about the Trump rally, and they're not looking at anything else besides U.S. markets, and they're almost in a vacuum. And I don't get it why they just continue to kind of pound about what Trump is promising and his agenda and so forth, and they're not looking at what global markets are doing, just breaking out all over the place. We talked a little bit about this in the weekend video, but Spain is up double digits. Our market's trailing. The U.S. is trailing relative to everything else year to date. Look at this is the column of year to date. So when of course, we had a really good rally in November. of last year. But you look at everything else, and we're underperforming. So, Trump this and Trump that. It's more about what is going on. There was some really nice economics that came out today from Germany, as did on Friday, when you had all of the European PMIs that came out that were higher than expectations. Today it was the Germany. If I could bring this up, the business climate was great, much better than expectations. The expectations, these are all better than expectations. So, why I think everybody's missing the boat is because global growth appears to be healing and getting better. So this is Spain up, over 13% this year. Some really just interesting markets going on. We saw a little bit. This is EWI. I actually started a position today. I wanted to make sure it broke out here, and it did. And it's above this line. So I started a position in the Italy ETF. That's EWI. In cash, that's in my new trend portfolio that all Tribeca Trade subscribers get to see. There's also some. This one's a little bit too early to me. This is the Greek ETF. I want to see this thing get above, at least outside of this range. I think it's going to do it, but again, that's just my gut feeling, and nothing else really showing for it, other than there was a very, very small call buyer in the Greek ETF. This was for 10 cents. We're talking about like what a $15,000 bet. I could have been making this, so it really wasn't a big trade at all. But it did go up aggressively, and it made me kind of look at the chart, because when you start to see France, Germany, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands break out, all of these areas, it could be that Greece might be next in here. So that's kind of what I'm watching, and maybe I'm waiting for a little bit of confirmation that this gets. I did try Greek options a couple months ago, and it stalled out up here. And it's kind of just been sitting back here. But if everything else is going to go, why not Greece too? So that's on my radar. What did we see in terms of option activity this morning? That was the first thing. Whenever we have a big day where we're selling off, or we come in after a sell off, I always want to see what they're buying. Are they still buying aggressive puts, or are they buying calls, and where are they doing it? Well, we just really haven't seen too much call buying in the financials. Goldman, which if you look at the RSI on Goldman, how oversold Goldman was on the daily chart, still is a 23 RSI. Keep in mind, anything under a 30 is oversold. So it got all the way to about a 22 this morning. So we started to see buyers come back. And again, we just really haven't seen a lot of option activity, I'd say, in the last few weeks in Goldman. But maybe this is the time, as we've gone from about 255 high all the way down to 225. It's a good 30 handles off the high. So it made sense to me why there was some call buying going on today. Whoops. Let me show you this. So this was a couple times. So again, under 1,000 contracts, but the one order for this week was for $3. There was a little bit further out, which I think I have written down here in my notes. Some not this week's but next week's expirations. So pretty short dated stuff. We also saw a little bit of Wells Fargo calls as well. That's something that we haven't seen. Last week we saw put buyers going up in Wells Fargo. So again, this one has a little bit more support. It's not quite as oversold as Goldman, but you could see it has had that move down, and it's got support in here. So that was a couple names where we saw some financial activity. More Micron today. So Micron, hasn't been able to. I really would like to see Micron get above the opening print after earnings and see if this can climb above here. So I'm still long a little bit of Micron from months back, and I've taken some profits, and I'm trying to let the rest ride. But I want to be cognizant or aware of this gap. I don't want to see this get filled to the downside. But they came back in a couple times today in Micron. And went to buy some April 26s and April 28s. A couple other signals. FTX reported last week. It had a nice recovery again. Another hammer candle. We're seeing these on a lot of different charts today. So nice FTX. That was basically on the lows of the day. A little bit more Western Digital calls. We saw Microsoft a couple times today. Microsoft looked like it was ready to break out last week, and then kind of failed along with everything else. But you could see some of these candles. This was just last week, and it ended up a little bit. Maybe a name to keep an eye on here, as it's just steadily been grinding. So, if you're going to play this in options, I would say make sure you give yourself enough time. They do report earnings, next month, but it's a slow mover. A little bit of Akamai calls went up. Aclero calls, CCL, which reports tomorrow. A little bit of Mylan calls. This is kind of a, we, and half the time this is I'm just looking, I'm reading the tape and I'm looking for activity so I can go and take a look at the charts and see what the setups look like. And Mylan, if you want to take a shot at Mylan, you got the 200-day moving average as support. So you could basically put a trade on right here, and if it manages to get below the 200-day moving average, you can get out of it for hopefully a quick loss on that. And then there wasn't much really going on the put side. Some more VFC. There was a VFC put buyer last week that worked out really well. We took that trade last week in the Tribeca trade room, which worked out. I don't have any position on right now, but I want to see if open interest. I want to see if they're adding to that and looking for more downside ahead in VFC. So that's basically it for option activity. So kind of a quick recap today, and I think it's kind of the same thing as we talked about in the extended weekend video. Technicals, the same technicals are there and have not been breached. So I think you want to watch that. The VIX. A lot of people talking about the range in the VIX. This is what the VIX does. I know people will put on Twitter. They'll talk about, oh my God, it was one of the biggest ranges ever. I don't think so. Look at these. Look at these days. But this is just what the VIX does. So, a break up to, we haven't hit 15 since prior to the election or the week of the election, but we were due for a little bit of volatility. So I think we're in really good shape considering that volatility came in and kind of left all in the same day. So concentrate on those moving averages, concentrate on support areas where you can trade off of. And I think for now, we weathered the storm for last week and today so far. So I think that bodes well for this week. It is a busy week in terms of quarter end once we get to the end of the week. But, I think we dodged another bullet. So thanks for watching tonight's video, and I'll see you guys bright and early in the Tribeca trading room tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the morning. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.